is John Gilchrist. I'm a sophomore political science major at Tuskegee University, and today I'm going to talk about a recent research project that we did in Social Work 300 using the GSS to help us accompany, also in part using SPSS. And my title is GSS Study Report, The Black Race and Political Views. Now, starting with our introduction, there's many ideas, many stigmas that are important when it comes to the African American race and political views. Many people may think, well, are African Americans really tied into politics? Do they really take it serious? You know, you look on social media, people are constantly making jokes about things. They're constantly, joking about a lot of political stuff. And majority of those people joking about it, true enough, this is from when I see it, majority of the people joking about it are of African American ethnicity. So I said, well, you know what? This is very interesting. That's why I'm going to do this project. I'm going to see, does the amount of education really affect their political view? And in my hypothesis, moving on, my hypothesis, I was stating that I believed it did. I believe that the amount of education does affect their political views. You know, you go to high school, you learn about government, you learn about how the country runs, and if you don't know how that ties into each other, if you don't know how they run and how they go together, then how can you say, well, yes, I understand fully the voting process, I understand fully the importance of it? And you would think that after all, everything went through, that the African American race would probably take it a little bit more serious, go and get a little bit of experience to voting and things of that nature. In the abstract, basically, I just talked about what was in the project. I just said, in this particular research project, the bivariate relationship is the relationship between the black race and their education level and the effect that it has on their political views. That's basically a breakdown of the project. If you want to say, if you're saying, oh, I don't know what's in this project, I just gave a breakdown of what was in it right there. Also, I want to say that moving on to the data, the black race and their education level and the effect that it has on their political views. My first hypothesis is that I believe that the more education that the black people have, the more positively impact their views are. The independent variable is the educational level, and the dependent variable is the political views. The control variable is the black race. My second hypothesis on the effect of the control variable on the original bivariate relationship described in my first hypothesis is, of course, very different. Okay, it's very, very different. It is, I believe, that the black race will potentially use their political views to determine what action to pursue in their educational field. So this is what I said. I said, hey, well, my first hypothesis was, yes, education does have an effect on the political views of African Americans, but my second hypothesis had a twist. Okay, my second hypothesis twist was that African Americans are going to use, they're going to use their views, and they're going to use their views on politics to determine maybe potentially what educational field that they will go into. If they're high school seniors, that maybe may affect whether they become a nurse, a doctor, or a lawyer, or whatever you're talking about going into. If they are already a graduate student, they may want to go back if they graduated from undergrad school, they may want to go back and get a master's in something like law. They may want to go back and get a master's in social work. Social work is even a major that can alter, you work with the government, it can alter that. So you just want to make sure, it plays a role in that. So you want to make sure that, these people really, that everybody really knows what they're going into and what they're dealing with when it comes to that. Moving on to my results. My results came out in basic with my hypothesis. These are a few two graphs showing the results. And here it is showing that if you look closely at these graphs, you will see that they came out in response to my hypothesis. These two graphs here, it shows that people who had going up to 12th grade year, they 12.5% of them, that was high, the highest number on there, was educated. Now, this is how it is. A year in college, the funny thing was it went down. But those are trends. There's trends. You're gonna go up and down, up and down. When reading graphs, you just need to look at the highest point that it was at. Because graphs are gonna have trends. You know, statistically, a year in college, those kids could just have had a rough year. Okay, this is what I believe they could have just had a rough year. Maybe an election wasn't taking place that year. But say they were 18 in high school and they were registered to vote. This shows, okay, yes, versus from 12th grade on down, okay, they have political views. Now looking here in how education affects political views overall, that was for the black race. But for overall, it shows that first year in college, and this is the one you look at too, first year in college, it skyrocketed, it's past the highest mark, which is 120 counts. That's past the highest mark on there. And I'm gonna take the camera up closer to the graph so you can see. This really shows, and this really backs my hypothesis up, that the more educated a person is, it has an effect on their political views. That is what really is showing. That's what really is going to back it up. And then this backs it up, of course, too, for the African American race. This backs it up as well. Now, those were the results. And I just basically went back to the example. If a person takes a government class, they're going to be more familiar with the government than the person that does not take the class. This is what the research project is showing. Now, that was the results. This study can help contribute to make sure that we do everything that we can to make sure that we encourage those around us to get themselves involved in our political process. Let's all get involved in the political process. Whether you're a social work major or a social worker, you're helping out with the political process because, you know, you ensure that people have the resources. Social workers play a role in that too, because you ensure that people have the resources that they need to maybe go to the polls, or when you're, you know, working for a government agency as a government social worker, you may come in contact with families who, you know, part of you getting them back on the right track may be showing them, you know, this is how you get registered to vote. This is how you know, if you have any criminal record, you know, make sure you get cleared so you can get registered to vote. This is the age you need to be. This is where you go to. This is how the political process runs. You know, you're educating them a lot. There's a lot going on with that. So they all tie in together. And so after all, I came to the conclusion that yes, education levels do affect a person on their political process. Education levels do affect a person's political views. Thank you for watching this video.